We uh we need to talk about that Hallmark movie version of family for a second. Everyone around the table happy passing potatoes. Because the reality is, for a huge number of people, that whole image is,
Yeah.
well, it's just fiction.
It really is. I mean, the stats are actually staggering. We're looking at research indicating that something like 28% of adults are currently estranged from a sibling.
Wow. So that's more than 1 in 4.
More than 1 in 4. Yeah.
So if you look around a typical room, statistically, someone there isn't speaking to their brother or sister. Today, we're doing a deep dive into an article by Farley Ledgerwood that basically argues these fractures don't just, happen overnight.
Right. We all assume it's one big blowout fight over a will or something. But Ledgerwood's point is that the seeds are planted decades earlier, in childhood. He lays out 9 specific dynamics that essentially predict future silence.
And our mission today is to unpack those. We're not here to play the blame game. We want to understand the mechanics. And the first one is a dynamic that feels, I don't know, almost cliche until you see the data.
The golden child.
Exactly. The favorite.
It's a classic for a reason. But here's the part that I think often gets missed. The research shows that it's the memories of childhood favoritism that are more toxic to the adult relationship than even current favoritism.
That's so interesting. So it doesn't really matter if mom and dad love us equally now. If I spent my entire childhood feeling like you could do no wrong and I was always the one in trouble, that's already baked in.
Precisely. It creates a permanent imbalance. The golden child can grow up with this sort of innate sense of entitlement, and the other sibling is just left carrying this heavy, unspoken grievance. It poisons the well.
Which connects, I think, directly to another concept from the article, which for me was maybe the most profound point. The idea of same house, different family.
This is the idea that siblings rarely, if ever, share the same parents.
It sounds impossible physically, but emotionally it's almost always true, isn't it?
Think about it. Birth order, family finances shifting, a parent's mental health. The oldest child might remember a time when dad had a great job, everyone was happy. 10 years later, the youngest child is growing up in a house that's defined by, say, bankruptcy and depression.
So when those two try to reminisce as adults, they can't. They're literally speaking different languages. One remembers a sanctuary, the other a war zone.
And because they can't validate each other's reality, they just drift. And this kind of disconnect often forces kids into these very specific roles just to survive the dysfunction.
And this is where we get into parentification. For anyone who hasn't heard that term, it's when a child is basically forced to act as the parent. Packing lunches, managing emotions, essentially raising their siblings.
Right. And you'd think, oh, they must be so close because the older one took care of the younger one. But it almost always breeds resentment. The older sibling ends up mourning their lost childhood.
They look at their younger sibling and think, why did you get to be a kid and I didn't? It's hard to be friends with someone when you had to be their mother first.
And then you have the inverse of that responsible child.
The scapegoat.
It's black sheep, yeah. Every dysfunctional system needs, like, a release valve for all the pressure. And often a family will unconsciously agree to just blame one child for all the friction.
And the really dark part is that the other siblings often join in.
They almost have to. It's a survival tactic. If the other kids join the parents in blaming the scapegoat, it ensures the heat stays off of them. But later in life, it's very hard to walk that back, after you've been complicit.
Especially if the whole family environment was one of silence. Ledgerwood talks about unaddressed abuse, and not just like hair pulling, but serious harm that parents just wave off as sibling rivalry.
That relabeling is incredibly damaging. When a parent calls abuse rivalry, what they're doing is prioritizing the aggressor's comfort over the victim's safety. It teaches that victim, you don't matter, your pain is an inconvenience.
And if the family rule is, don't rock the boat, you can never bring it up. The resentment just festers.
Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, modeling. We learn how to handle conflict by watching our parents. Ledgerwood uses this example of a man, Bob, who hasn't spoken to his sister in 15 years.
Because Bob watched his own father cut off an uncle and just never speak to him again.
Exactly. So what did Bob learn? He learned that relationships are disposable. He didn't learn repair. He learned amputation. If things get hard, you just cut them off.
It's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
So if we pull all this together, the favoritism, the different realities, the forced roles, the silence, the big takeaway isn't really, oh, my parents messed up.
No, not at all. It's more about managing your expectations. If you're estranged from a sibling, understanding these roots can help you let go of the guilt It helps you realize that maybe the foundation for a healthy relationship was just never there to begin with.
And that sometimes the healthiest choice you can make is just accepting that you can't fix what was broken long before you even understood it.
It's a hard truth, but a necessary one.
So here's something to think about. When you handle conflict in your own life today with your partner, your friends, your kids, what are you modeling? Are you showing the next generation how to repair a breach? Or are you teaching them that difficult people should just be discarded?